Hey, Huckster here. So how do you interpret prophetic scriptures about Israel? You know, the Jews, with their literal interpretation of scripture, is what led them off into cruel and disappointing views. Their literal belief of the Messiah is what blinded them in that first century to the fact that Jesus was the Messiah. Political collaboration between the United States and Israel is brought about by theological politics, or theopolitics. Our actions in the Iraq War, Afghanistan, and the conflict between Hezbollah and Israel is proof that the United States is influenced by Israeli politics and dispensationalist Christian ideas. President Reagan was a true believer in doomsday theology. He would quote Ezekiel 38 and say that the armies would surround Israel, and that would include Libya, and that God would rain down fire and brimstone on Israel's enemies, so that must mean nuclear weapons. Ronald Reagan, as much as you have to like him, was wrong. The LA Times report John Hagee as saying that the first thing that will happen when Jesus returns is judgment upon the nations, and that there will only be one criterion: which side of Israel did you stand on? And you wouldn't want to be on the wrong side, because if you go against Israel in any way, you'll face eternal damnation. This is a fear tactic that many dispensationalists, many evangelical, probably about 65 million of them, put out there. It kind of gives Israel the right to do as they please in the world, and nobody's going to come against them because they fear what these evangelicals say. If you know what the Bible really says, who was the real heir to that land? Scriptures say that Jesus was the heir to the kingdom, the heir to Israel. Jesus is Israel in the Old Testament. He gives those Pharisees, those rulers of the temple city, those holy people, a parable of the landowner. And at the end of the story, the landowner takes that land away from those husbandmen and gives it to a people that will bring in harvest in due season. The people Jesus gives that nation of Israel, that heavenly Jerusalem, to, is His followers. Israel today does not follow Jesus Christ. You can go on YouTube, look at Jewish sites, listen to them talk about Jesus and the New Testament as if neither existed. That's what Israel is today. To say that going against them is going against God is agreeing with them that Jesus is not the Messiah. Just because you read a scripture that says the land was theirs forever to possess, they were never the owners of the land. God is the landowner. The heir to that land was Jesus. Wrong interpretation of the Bible puts you in those same shoes as those Jews in that first century, and not recognizing our Messiah. Peace.